Americans think Martin Luther King just died, or was a Confederate general, or was the first African American to walk on the moon. I'm not going to play the whole video again. It's on Infowars.com. These are not cherry-picked. I want to get into this with Mark Dice on Martin Luther King Day. MarkDice.com. He's an author and media critic. His new book's out, Inside the Illuminati. We'll tell you some about that as well, or have him back up in a few weeks to a whole hour on the true history of the Illuminati. He's done a lot of research into it. But, Mark, first off, shifting gears back to what we just covered, a few minutes with us on the clash of civilizations, the radical Islamics that are being brought in. What do you make of this overall, and George Soros' attempt to basically fund destabilization and ultimately attacks on police and private property?
Well, it's the classic plan of the clash of civilizations to pit different groups against each other, basically to tap into the most primitive aspect of humanity's tribalism. And with the Martin Luther King video that you showed, that you were talking about earlier, I just, again, wanted to continue to demonstrate how people are so ignorant and will believe just about anything that you tell them. And if I can walk up to people and state fake facts and get people to comment on them and not have a light bulb go off in their head, just imagine, and we've seen it demonstrated for years, what the mainstream media is able to do with their men in suits and with their professional music and with their $100,000 sets. And this is a demonstration of why the public is so easily manipulated by the television. It simply tells them what to do, what to believe. Their rational processes have become so dumbed down. You know that if somebody has an injury, if they break a bone and their arm or leg is in a cast for 6 or 8 weeks, when it's out, it's very atrophied. That's unfortunately what has happened to most Americans' minds. I mean, they're literally not using them. The smartphone use, the obsession with the internet, the short-term thinking processes have basically been short-circuited, not dumping data into long-term memory.
And by the way, all the research studies that you're talking about show that. You're not just making claims here. People are disassociating. They're becoming basically zombies. And you're not out there, because we've talked about this before, to make yourself look smart and make them look dumb or cherry picking. You're out there showing really what you ran into and just how much danger we're in. Because quite frankly, it is liberals. We found this in Austin. If you go to a conservative area, they're pretty informed, they're pretty smart compared to these people. So-called liberals are but they always think they're real smart. And MSNBC makes fun of dumb conservatives all day, who certainly exist. I'm not conservative or liberal. I'm into just freedom, libertarian. But this phenomenon of liberals being dumber than a lobotomized turkey or something, they're a very scary group, because they will vote however they're told to.
That's why I'm demonstrating, you know, and I'm glad a few years ago some of your crew came out and we did a video together, and they were probably stunned to see just how easy it was, not only for me to demonstrate people signing the petitions for absurd legislation, just stating a fact, a fake fact that you tell them it's for their own good. They'll sign a petition to repeal the Bill of Rights, just complete insane ideas. Your camera crew got to see it. My cameramen are absolutely stunned. And, you know, we're talking earlier in the show about the power of television. One of the most famous media analysts is a man named Neil Postman, who wrote a book in the 1980s called Amusing Ourselves to Death. Still captures the state of the American media today when he says that under the governance of the printing press, discourse in America was different from what it is now, generally coherent, serious, and rational. And then how under the governance of television, it has become shriveled and absurd. And he goes on to say that we have part of the reason for this is because we've been accustomed to its discontinuities, so that we are no longer struck dumb, as any sane person would be, by a newscaster who, having just reported that a nuclear war was inevitable, goes on to say that we'll be right back after this word from Burger King. And one can hardly overestimate the damage that this juxtaposition does to our sense of the world as a serious place. He goes on to say that they keep everything brief, not to strain our attention, but to provide constant stimulation through variety, novelty, action, and movement. You are required to pay attention to no concept, no character, and no problem for more than a few seconds at a time. That bite-sized is best. The complexity must be avoided. Nuances are dispensable, and that qualifications impede a simple message, and visual stimulation is a substitute for thought.
That's right. It's dumbed down to Republican, Democrat, black, white. You're either for the cops, you're against the cops. They want us all like automatons with no subtlety, no qualifications, no deep understanding of history until the general public are like dumb animals. It's so sad. They're so stupid, but they're also so vicious. They'll vote to take our guns in a minute. They'll vote to put us in a FEMA camp. You've gone out and had long discussions with liberals going, yeah, we're going to put the gun owners in forced labor camps. And they're like, oh, good. Yeah, I don't like them. And these people are ready, Mark, to come take us and our families.
I mean, these are sick. An idiocracy. I mean, we have a generation of people who grew up on smartphones literally don't know by memory the phone numbers of their friends or their families. I mean, most people under perhaps 30, 25, remember before smartphones when you would actually memorize the phone numbers of your family and of your friends. But now people, as you know, just plug them into their phone. If they lost their phone, if their phone battery died, they would be so lost. They literally wouldn't know where they are. They don't know how to go anywhere without GPS. And, you know, Martin Luther King, the video that we were talking about and what he's done for this country, his just still historic speech that rings true today.
Well, let's talk about it when we come back. Media analyst Mark Dice is our guest. I'm Alex Jones, Infowars.com. Alex Jones here, back live. Tomorrow night, we'll have the Infowars Nightly News crew giving live continued coverage, Mystery Science Theater style, talking over the liar-in-chief Obama, or during the long fake applauses, they'll be adding analysis, commentary, and then a summary of the lies, fraud, deception, and basically enemy attack, disinformation. That's tomorrow night. Coverage starts at 7, 8 p.m. They will then give live commentary over the address and then give comments after so that we can have articles written that night and videos breaking down the different lies that are involved. I don't want to dominate the process. I was thinking about coming in after the State of the Union, after Jakari Jackson, David Knight, Leanne McAdoo give commentary during it, and then coming in at the end and doing 30 minutes breakdown at the end of it. Or maybe I should do it at the first. I just like to step aside and let them grow, which they've really been doing. David Knight does a wonderful job when he hosts the show. So that's coming up. Going back to Mark Dice. Mark, I mean, Martin Luther King said, don't judge people on their color, judge them on what they stand for. I don't care what color you are if I like your music. I don't care what color you are if I like your restaurant. I'm going to come eat there. I mean, that's what free market's really all about. Free market of ideas, free market of choice. That's real diversity, is that you're not hung up on what color somebody is. So, you know, you got a friend who's whatever, you know, go see a movie together or whatever. But now political correctness is just the opposite. It's all about what color you are and how you're a special group, you're protected, the opposite of what Martin Luther King said. And now we know why the FBI left Malcolm X alone when he was saying kill everybody. But as soon as he said, no, all races should work together, that's when he got killed. And it really shows the system wants this divide and conquer. So spend a few minutes on COINTELPRO.
Yeah, I mean, the general public would think this is a conspiracy theory, but I mean, we know it's been declassified, that the FBI had and of course continues to have, despite their claims that they ended the program and apologized for it. But they were infiltrating and harassing, committing all sorts of illegal crimes, and to discredit, disrupt, and neutralize peaceful groups, particularly Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement, or anybody who was or continues to be.
Because he didn't want to burn down the country. Because he didn't want to. But meanwhile, violent groups were being supported, and meanwhile, George Soros is pushing violence and rioting again.
Yeah, we even saw, you know, J. Edgar Hoover, the infamous father of the FBI, who contained an entire series of file cabinets of dirt on politicians so he could blackmail them into doing his bidding. He was obviously against any public figure, any musician. John Lennon, he wanted to have him deported because he was such a powerful anti-war spokesman and face against the Vietnam War. Again, that was an establishment program.
And they finally shut him down, just like the Argentinian prosecutor, hours before he was going to present damning evidence in Parliament, shot in the head. The government says it was a suicide. Or just breaking in Infowars.com, the maker of, he was making anti-globalist, anti-establishment movie, Gray State, director found dead in apparent murder-suicide with his wife and child, was working on project envisioning future federal martial law crackdown. How suspicious is that?
Well, I mean, we know there's a series of Operation false flag attacks. We know, and I don't even like to talk about some of the actual details of some of their programs like the Devil's Breath.
Let's talk about that when we come back in 1 minute. I want to get you back for a full hour next week to talk about your new book, Inside the Illuminati. It's an excellent new book. We're not selling it. We need to get them in bulk and sell them at InfoWarsStore.com. But you can find those at Amazon.com, his new book. Stay with us. Back in 60 seconds, and our other guest is coming on. Scopolamine, Devil's Breath. They've done it in Latin America and Haiti for a long time. They'll spray the powder in your face. There's different types. One comes from a plant, others from a pufferfish. Paralyzes you. You think you're a zombie. They dig you up later, tell you that you're under their control. Then they give you the other drug to make you follow all their orders. People will kill their children when ordered to. They will go in and rob banks when they're told to. And that's just an ancient system they have. There's a lot of high-tech drugs and things that are perfect for mind control. Sirhan Sirhan was on these when he was the decoy in the shooting of RFK. But going back to Mark Dice, Mark, tell us about Devil's Breath and just an example of how easy it is to mind control someone.
Now, we know the power of suggestion. My video series demonstrates just from me repeatedly telling people to print their name and pointing on the crazy petitions to disrupt their thought patterns, to direct them to what I want them to do, using really a form of neurolinguistic programming in a sense. That is quite powerful in and of itself. But you add drugs into the mix. And this scopolamine, it's a very little-known drug, nicknamed the Devil's Breath, often rumored to just be a conspiracy theory again, but confirmed to be a real substance that, of course, the CIA has experimented and used in their now declassified MK Ultra mind control programs, which literally turns a person into a conscious zombie, where they, to an uninformed person, appear to be fully conscious and aware of themselves and their surroundings, but they are essentially turned into a hypnotic slave. And there's been many cases of individuals, not even associated with the government, just organized criminals or rogue criminal elements using scopolamine, Devil's Breath, to then get people to go and empty out their bank accounts, because they will walk into a bank after being told to and empty out their bank account or their ATM. They'll just let them into their house and tell them, just give them some of their jewels, etc. This is one of the most sophisticated, damaging types of a mind control drug, but you mix this in with sophisticated hypnotic techniques, trained neurolinguistic programmers, and these individuals, the intelligence agencies, can literally almost turn somebody into a mind-controlled slave and have them do whatever it is they want to. The television, of course, is really one of the biggest hypnotic tools, and we always talk about they control the media, or trying to get more detailed, the establishment. But as a media analyst, I mean, I can tell you that there's an entire division in the entertainment industry that literally works, and you know this, with the Department of Defense. There's on the CIA's website, there is a whole page about the Entertainment Liaison Office that works hand in hand with Hollywood to create these propaganda films, like this new #1 film, American Sniper, this new war propaganda infomercial about Chris Kyle, who, again, as you know, lost his libel suit, or Jesse Ventura won $1.8 million, confirming in a court that he'd fabricated his tale about allegedly punching out Jesse Ventura. So we're living in a mind control idiocracy wasteland where the public just does what the television tells them to. We have multiple cases of these strange experiments on the public, from Operation Midnight Climax, dosing people with LSD, to the scopolamine uses, to the use of hypnotic neurolinguistic programming. And so it's no wonder why society's falling apart.
And out of that research came Prozac and the rest of it, where you're not obviously on LSD, but it's in the same family. You're in a highly suggestible, mesmerized mind control state. And this is what's happening to society.
You can see in some of the previous Man on the Street petition series where I would ask these people to sign a petition to repeal the Bill of Rights. And sometimes they may start thinking about the issue before signing. And I just using, again, just an easy form of neurolinguistic programming, the power of suggestion, interrupt their thought processes and just give them a command in a confident voice to tell them, just sign right here.
That's right, Mark. You're showing folks the man behind the curtain. Great job. Look forward to talking to you next week. God bless.
Introducing the first proprietary oxygen-based intestinal cleanser, OxyPowder. Backed by real FDA-approved phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials. People are suffering from all kinds of digestive issues these days. All the toxins from the air, the food, the water, ultimately ends up in the gut or affects the gut. My main focus was to come up with a remedy for this, something that's safe and effective that anyone can take on a regular basis to keep their intestinal lining clean. My recommendation is to clean your intestines at least 2 to 3 times a week to prevent the toxic buildup from going into your bloodstream. Take your health into your own hands and start cleansing your body today with OxyPowder. Secure your OxyPowder today at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com.